Ali ibn Ahmad ibn said Ibn Hazm. He was born in Córdoba. This was the heart of Al-Andalus. The year was 994 CE. His family was prominent, wealthy, and influential. They served the Umayyad caliphs. His father was a vizier, a minister of state. Young Ibn Hazm grew up in luxury. He lived within the palace walls. He knew comfort and privilege from his first breath. This gilded cage would shape his early views. It would also provide a stark contrast to his later life. His education was exceptional. As befitted his station, the best tutors were brought to him. He studied the Quran and Hadith. He learned poetry, grammar, and history. The sciences and logic also formed part of his curriculum. Córdoba was a beacon of learning. Its libraries were vast. Its scholars were renowned. Ibn Hazm absorbed this rich intellectual atmosphere. He was a keen student. His mind was sharp, eager to learn. This foundation would serve him well in the turbulent years ahead. Imagine Córdoba in its prime, a city of lights, culture, and knowledge. It rivaled Baghdad and Constantinople. Mosques, palaces, and gardens adorned its landscape. Scholars from all faiths mingled and debated. Ibn Hazm witnessed this vibrant world. He was part of its elite. His early life was one of ease. He had access to power and the finest resources. This upbringing instilled in him a certain confidence, perhaps even an air of aristocratic assurance. He was groomed for leadership, for a life of importance, but this golden age was not to last. The world around Ibn Hazm was fragile. The stability he knew was built on shifting sands. His early experiences of affluence and education were profound. They gave him the tools for critical thought. They exposed him to diverse ideas. Yet, this insulated world could not protect him forever. The lessons learned in comfort would soon be tested by chaos, by loss, by the harsh realities of a changing world. His journey was just beginning. The 11th century dawned with upheaval in Al-Andalus. The Umayyad Caliphate of Córdoba began to crumble. Political infighting became rampant. Civil war, the fitna, tore the land apart. Ibn Hazm's family was deeply enmeshed in this turmoil. As supporters of the Umayyads, their fortunes rose and fell with the ruling dynasty. His father held high office. This meant their position was precarious. The stability of his youth vanished like smoke. This was a brutal awakening for the young scholar. The political storms brought personal tragedy. His father faced persecution. The family lost its status and wealth. They were forced to flee Córdoba. Ibn Hazm experienced imprisonment. He saw the ephemeral nature of power. He witnessed betrayal and violence. These experiences were transformative. They stripped away the illusions of his privileged upbringing. The world was not the ordered, secure place he had known. It was chaotic, unpredictable, and often cruel. This harsh reality forged a new path for him. No longer destined for a comfortable political career, Ibn Hazm turned inward. The loss of worldly possessions and status redirected his focus. He began a profound search for meaning. He sought something more permanent than political favor. He craved truth, a certainty that could withstand the storms of life. This period of loss and instability was crucial. It pushed him from the corridors of power. It led him towards the vast realm of ideas. His personal philosophy began to take shape, molded by adversity. The political chaos did more than just change his circumstances. It fundamentally altered his worldview. He became skeptical of human power structures. He saw their corruption and their impermanence. This skepticism would later inform his theological and legal views. He developed a critical eye. He questioned established norms and authorities. The boy raised in a palace was now a man seeking truth in a fractured world. The turmoil was not just an interruption, it was a catalyst for his intellectual journey. In the wake of political ruin and personal loss, Ibn Hazm embarked on a profound quest. He sought certainty in a world that had proven utterly uncertain. Where could truth be found? What knowledge could be trusted? These questions burned within him. He explored various schools of Islamic jurisprudence. He delved into different theological interpretations. Initially, he followed the Maliki school, dominant in Al-Andalus. Then he briefly considered the Shafi'i school. But he found their reliance on juristic discretion unsettling. He needed something more concrete. His journey was not merely academic, it was a deeply personal and spiritual struggle. He yearned for a firm foundation for his faith and understanding. The political turmoil had shown him the fragility of worldly things. Now he sought something eternal. He studied logic and philosophy with intensity. He engaged with the works of Greek philosophers. He wrestled with complex theological debates. This period was marked by intense intellectual exploration. He was a seeker, driven by an insatiable desire for clarity. He could not rest on inherited beliefs alone. Ibn Hazm meticulously examined the sources of religious knowledge. He questioned the methodologies of established schools. He found many of them lacking in rigor. He believed that human opinion and fallible reasoning had clouded the pure message of the divine texts. This led him to a critical stance. He was not afraid to challenge long-held assumptions. His search was for a direct path to truth, a path unmediated by layers of interpretation he deemed suspect. This pursuit set him apart from many of his contemporaries. The intellectual landscape of Al-Andalus was rich and diverse, but it was also fraught with contention. Ibn Hazm's quest for certainty was a bold one. He navigated through various philosophical currents. He grappled with the relationship between reason and revelation. His journey was one of intellectual courage. He was willing to abandon comfortable positions if they did not stand up to scrutiny. This relentless pursuit of truth became the defining characteristic of his life and work. It was a path often lonely, but one he felt compelled to follow. Ibn Hazm developed a clear system for acquiring knowledge. He believed truth was accessible, but it required a rigorous method. His epistemology rested on 4 primary sources. First, direct sensory experience. What we see, hear, and touch provides initial data about the world. This was the most basic level of knowing. He valued empirical observation. This was a practical, grounded starting point for understanding. He insisted that knowledge must begin with what is evident. Second, he emphasized the role of reason and innate intuition, al-aql. Reason allows us to process sensory data. It helps us understand concepts that are not directly perceived. These are self-evident truths, like the whole being greater than its parts. Logic was a crucial tool for him. It ensured coherence and consistency in thought. He believed the human mind was equipped to grasp fundamental realities. This rational capacity was a divine gift. It was meant to be used in the pursuit of understanding. Third, and most critically for religious matters, were the sacred texts. For Ibn Hazm, these were the Quran and the authentic Sunnah, prophetic traditions. He insisted on a literal interpretation of these texts. This was the cornerstone of his Zahiri literalist school of thought. He believed the apparent meaning, Zahir, of the divine word was clear. It should not be obscured by allegorical readings or human conjecture. The texts were the ultimate source of religious truth. Their authority was paramount. Finally, he accepted universal consensus, ijma, but defined it very narrowly. For him, it only meant the consensus of the Prophet Muhammad's companions. He rejected the later consensus of scholars as a binding source of law. This structured system aimed for certainty. It sought to minimize subjective interpretation. Ibn Hazm believed this framework provided a reliable path to knowledge. It balanced experience, reason, and revelation. His emphasis was always on clear evidence. He demanded proof for every claim. Section 5. A voice against the grain, intellectual challenges and exile. Ibn Hazm was not a man to shy away from intellectual combat. Armed with his rigorous methodology, he challenged prevailing ideas. He critiqued the dominant Maliki school of law in Al-Andalus. He found their reliance on juristic preference, or istisan, and analogical reasoning known as qiyas, problematic. He argued these methods introduced too much human opinion into divine law. He saw them as departures from the clear meaning of the texts. His criticisms were sharp, often polemical. He did not suffer fools gladly. His outspoken views and uncompromising stance earned him many enemies. The established scholars and political authorities felt threatened. His Zahiri approach was seen as radical by some. It questioned the foundations of their legal and theological systems. He engaged in numerous debates, often with great passion. He wrote extensively, refuting the arguments of his opponents. His intellect was formidable, but his unyielding nature often alienated those in power. He was a man of conviction, unwilling to compromise his principles for comfort or acceptance. This intellectual audacity came at a significant personal cost. Ibn Hazm faced persecution and hostility. His books were sometimes burned. He was accused of heresy by his detractors. Eventually, his challenges to the established order led to his exile. He was forced to leave major cities. he spent the latter part of his life in relative isolation in a small village. This exile was a painful experience, yet it also provided him with the solitude to write some of his most important works. The courage to confront established norms is a rare quality. Ibn Hazm possessed it in abundance. He believed he was defending the purity of the faith. He saw himself as a champion of truth based on evidence. His exile was a testament to the power of his ideas. It showed how challenging the status quo can provoke a fierce backlash, but he remained steadfast. His commitment to his understanding of truth never wavered, even in the face of adversity. His life demonstrates the price one might pay for intellectual integrity. Section 6. The Zahiri Path. Ibn Hazm's distinctive philosophical contributions. Ibn Hazm is most famously associated with the Zahiri school of Islamic jurisprudence. Zahir means apparent or literal. This school insists on understanding the Quran and Sunnah according to their most direct outward meaning. He argued that God's commands are clear. They do not require elaborate interpretation or subjective reasoning to be understood. This approach sought to limit human interference in divine law. It aimed for objectivity and certainty. For Ibn Hazm, the text was paramount. Its literal sense was the primary guide. Beyond jurisprudence, his Zahiri principles influenced his views on theology. He was a staunch defender of God's absolute uniqueness and transcendence. He rejected anthropomorphic descriptions of God. He also critiqued philosophical attempts to define God using human categories. His theology emphasized God's unknowability beyond what is revealed in the texts. He believed that speculation beyond the clear words of revelation was dangerous. It could lead to error and deviation. His focus was always on adhering strictly to the revealed word. In ethics, Ibn Hazm emphasized virtues like truthfulness, justice, and compassion. These were derived directly from the commands found in the Quran and Sunnah. His ethical framework was deeply rooted in his religious convictions. He believed that true morality stemmed from obedience to God's will. His work, Ethics and the Conduct of Life, provides practical guidance. It shows how to cultivate a virtuous character. It is a testament to his concern for moral integrity. Regarding governance, he advocated for a just ruler who adheres strictly to Islamic law. He was critical of arbitrary power and tyranny. Having witnessed political corruption, he valued lawful and accountable leadership. In education, he stressed the importance of seeking knowledge. He believed education should be comprehensive. It should include religious sciences, language, and even logic. His own vast learning exemplified this ideal. His philosophical contributions were diverse, all marked by his rigorous, text-centered approach. He sought a coherent system based on unwavering principles. Section 7. Ink and Insight. The enduring works of a prolific scholar. Ibn Hazm was an incredibly prolific writer. Reports suggest he authored around 400 works. Sadly, many of these have been lost to time, yet those that survive reveal the breadth and depth of his intellect. His writings cover a vast range of subjects. He wrote on law, theology, logic, and history. He also explored poetry, ethics, and comparative religion. His pen was tireless. His mind was constantly engaged. He left behind a rich intellectual treasure. One of his most significant works is The Sweetened Work with Traditions. This is a monumental book on Islamic law according to the Zahiri school. In it, he meticulously examines legal issues. He bases his rulings strictly on the Quran, Sunnah, and the consensus of the companions. It is a testament to his encyclopedic knowledge of hadith. Remains a vital reference for understanding Zahiri jurisprudence. It showcases his rigorous methodology and his critical approach to legal sources. Another famous work, quite different in tone, is The Ring of the Dove. This is a beautiful and insightful treatise on the art and psychology of love. Written during a period of personal turmoil, it explores the nature of affection. It details its joys and sorrows. The book draws on personal experiences, anecdotes, and poetry. It reveals a more personal, reflective side of Ibn Hazm. Is a classic of Arabic literature. It demonstrates his profound understanding of human emotions. His other important contributions include The Separator concerning religions, heresies, and sects. This is a pioneering work in comparative religion. In it, he critically examines various religious and philosophical systems. He analyzes Judaism, Christianity, Zoroastrianism, and different Islamic sects. While often polemical, it shows his deep engagement with diverse beliefs. These key works, among others, secure Ibn Hazm's place as one of Al-Andalus's greatest scholars. His ink flowed with insight and conviction. Section 8. Echoes through time, the lasting legacy and modern resonance. Ibn Hazm's intellectual legacy is complex and enduring. During his lifetime, his views were often controversial. The Zahiri school he championed did not become dominant, yet his influence persisted. Later scholars, even those who disagreed with him, acknowledged his vast learning. They respected his intellectual rigor. Thinkers like Al-Ghazali and Ibn Taymiyyah engaged with his arguments. His critical approach to tradition and his emphasis on textual evidence continued to inspire debate. He forced people to think. His work on logic and epistemology was significant. He helped to popularize Aristotelian logic in the Islamic West. He integrated it into his legal and theological reasoning. This was a bold move for a literalist. It demonstrated his belief in the harmony of reason and revelation. His insistence on evidence-based truth resonates even today. In an age of misinformation, his call for careful verification is more relevant than ever. He reminds us to question, to demand proof, and to think critically. In modern times, there has been a renewed interest in Ibn Hazm. Some contemporary Islamic reformers find his Zahiri approach appealing. They see it as a way to bypass centuries of traditional interpretation. They believe it offers a more direct engagement with the foundational texts. His critiques of blind adherence to tradition also find an audience. His call for intellectual independence strikes a chord. He is seen as a symbol of courage in the face of dogmatism. Furthermore, his work continues to be celebrated worldwide. It transcends cultural and religious boundaries. Its sensitive exploration of love speaks to universal human experiences. Ibn Hazm's legacy is not confined to Islamic thought. He stands as a figure of universal intellectual importance. His fearless pursuit of knowledge, his defense of reason, and his profound humanity ensure his voice still echoes. He was a man ahead of his time in many ways. His ideas continue to challenge and inspire. Section 9. Lessons from Al-Andalus, Courage, Truth, and the Harmonious Pursuit. The life of Ibn Hazm Alandalusi offers profound lessons. His journey from privilege to persecution is a story of resilience. It teaches us about the courage required to seek truth. He faced immense pressure to conform, yet he remained steadfast in his convictions. He dared to question established norms. He challenged powerful institutions. This intellectual bravery is a timeless virtue. It reminds us that the pursuit of truth often demands sacrifice. It requires us to stand firm even when we stand alone. His unwavering commitment to evidence-based truth is another key lesson. Ibn Hazm insisted on clear proof. He demanded rigorous methodology in all fields of knowledge. Whether in law, theology, or philosophy, he sought solid foundations. He believed that faith and reason were not enemies. They were partners in the quest for understanding. His structured system of knowledge highlights this balance. He showed that deep faith can coexist with a critical, rational mind. This is a vital message for our contemporary world. Ibn Hazm's life also underscores the importance of intellectual humility, despite his often sharp tone. His continuous search for certainty implies an awareness of the limits of human understanding. He was willing to change his views when evidence led him elsewhere. His exploration of different schools of thought before settling on his own path shows this. The pursuit of knowledge is a lifelong journey. It requires openness and a willingness to learn. It means accepting that one might be wrong. Ultimately, Ibn Hazm's story is one of passion, a passion for knowledge, for justice, for God. He lived in a turbulent era, yet he produced works of enduring value. He reminds us that even in times of chaos, the human spirit can strive for light. His legacy calls us to be courageous in our own pursuits, to seek truth diligently, to balance reason with faith, and to engage with the world with both a critical mind and an open heart. The philosopher of Al-Andalus still speaks to us. His voice is a beacon,